Welcome to the 2021 Historic Property Tour of Cottonwood, Arizona. On behalf of the Historic Preservation Commission, we are proud to present 14 properties of significant historic value during the establishment and growth of Cottonwood. Several are listed on the National Register of Historic Places and are all landmark properties within the city, meaning they are over 50 years old and meet the landmarking requirements.
Our first property on the tour is the United Verde Extension Mining Company, or UVX Smelter Machine Shop, built in 1917. This is the last of the massive industrial-style buildings of the smelter complex, which was used to process ore from the mines near Jerome. It was used for warehousing and as a locomotive repair shop. At the time, the building began a railroad spur, under construction connecting the smelter site with Clarkdale and the Verde Valley branch of the Santa Fe, Prescott, and Phoenix Railway. The building was used for the purpose of smelter operations until 1938. In the 1940s, the building was used for storage and a repair shop for trucks hauling cement to the Glen Canyon Dam.
With the building of the UVX mining smelter came the need to provide education for the smelter employees' children. The Spanish colonial revival design is similar to other company buildings in Jerome. The Clemenceau Public School was constructed in 1923. Kindergarten through 9th grade classes opened in 1924 with a total of 475 students. As time passed, a new elementary school was built and Clemenceau School became the high school. The first graduating class consisted of 24 seniors in the spring of 1948. It had served as a school, high school, school offices, and today, the South Wing houses the Clemenceau Heritage Museum.
Clemenceau was the name given to the smelter town for UVX employees. Named for French Prime Minister Georges Clemenceau, the bank was built in 1921 and a porch was added later, possibly when the building was converted for use as the post office.
When W. Ursel Garrison returned from the Army in World War I, he partnered with his brother-in-law to open an auto repair shop called Liberty Garage in 1919. In 1923, the building was taken down and expanded to 10,000 square feet. The new structure housed Ursel Garrison Ford and was one of the most modern in the area. Although the dealership was sold in 1960, the new owner continued to house the dealership in the building until 1970. In 1971, it became the office for the Cottonwood Waterworks when gas pumps were removed and a roof was added along with decorative copper metal over the transom windows. In 2012, it was remodeled to accommodate 4 businesses, which are still in the building today. The streetscape remains relatively unchanged since 1924.
The River Rock structure on the north end of Main Street was the first in the area to be constructed with the rock as building material. Yavapai County designed and contracted to build the Upper Verde Justice Court building in 1929. Commonly referred to as the Old Jail, it served its intended function from 1930 to 1968. The building was transferred from Yavapai County to the town of Cottonwood in 1968, and the sign on the building was changed to Cottonwood Police Department. Starting in the 1970s, the building was used by the Humane Society, Big Brothers Big Sisters, and the Visitor Center for the Old Town Association.
A few years after the court building was finished, both the Cottonwood Bridge right near the jail and the Del Monte Wash Bridge as you enter Old Town from the east were constructed. They started during the Depression and construction was assisted by the Federal Government Work Progress Administration, or WPA. These historic bridges are a memorable vision of those who travel Main Street as it goes through Old Town Cottonwood. In 2000, the buildings and residences along Main Street from 712 to 1124 North Main Street were designated as a historic commercial district by the National Register of Historic Places.
The land was deeded to Methodist Episcopal Church in 1927 by United Verde Extension Mining, and the first cornerstone block was laid shortly after. The Green Church on the corner, as it was known, was outgrown by the congregation and sold to Verde Baptist Church in 1938. When it was no longer used for religious services, the bell tower was removed and it became a Buick car dealership. In 2014, the building was sold, and the new owners invested in restoring the original architecture structure by submitting design and review to the State Historic Preservation Office and the city's Historic Preservation Commission. Remodel for the restaurant started in 2019, and the bell tower was recreated, and a large bell made in 1898 was added back into the tower.
In 1937, the Women's Service Club, later the Community Civic Club, began planning and fundraising for a large community building for public and private gatherings. Planning and development continued through that year and into 1938 when the federal government authorized the balance of the project's costs through WPA. The design included the rock structure seen on several other buildings and sites during this time. Ground was broken for the Civic Center building in 1938. Several other community-funded projects added the stage and other amenities during the war years and into the 1950s. The historic fabric of the Cottonwood Clubhouse remains virtually unchanged since the 1939 completion.
The Edens House was built in 1938 by Frank Edens, a local architect. A bungalow-style home built in the Hopkins Ranch subdivision, which was an early expansion of the growth in Cottonwood along Main Street. There was an addition to the back part of the home back in 1955. Some modifications have been made during the life of the property during other uses for business, drug rehab for young adults, and rental. During a remodel, a signed piece of wood was found in the wall dated April 27, 1939. The front of this home matches the original architecture. The original wood floors were restored, and the original chimney brick was taken down, cleaned, and reused for the fireplace.
A small section of land near Del Monte Wash at the bottom of Cottonwood Hill was at one time destined to be used as a miniature golf course. The small community park has tables and benches among the trees and was first discussed as being donated to the city of Cottonwood in 1969. The park sits in between the historic Old Town section and the first phase of Hopkins Ranch, where homes were built in the 1930s.
The jail trail is part of the old road that went directly from Sedona to Jerome. The only remnants of the old bridge are cables and cement that once anchored the crossing over the Verde River. During the 1920s, the constructing of this road was promoted as a shorter way to Sedona rather than the way of Bridgeport.
The First Assembly of God Church was built in 1951 and was one of the first mid-century modern buildings in Cottonwood. The congregation outgrew the church, and from 1979 to 2006, the Verde Valley Senior Citizens Association used the property, and then it became home to the Cottonwood Baptist Church. This site is located in the Cottonwood Addition subdivision and was purchased in 2016.
The Bank of Arizona building is another example of mid-century modern architecture and was built in 1954. This was one of the first buildings in Cottonwood to have central air conditioning, which is still in use today. It became the first Bank of Arizona in 1958 and later served as the Cottonwood Police Department home until 2001. It was remodeled to house the department with the addition of 2 jail cells and a shower. After the police department relocated, the city's Human Resource and Finance Department used the building until it was sold in February of 2021. The property was purchased and is currently going through a remodel.
The Shep's Liquor sign was installed around 1960. The packaged liquor store was located at the Motor Court on Main Street, known as the Alamo Hotel, in 1945. Old-timers in the area remember the sign was an important landmark that could be seen coming over Mingus Mountain. The sign was remodeled for the new owner of the property in September of 2009. The sign retains its essential form, rhythm, and color palette in Old Town. Thank you for supporting the 2021 Cottonwood Historic Property Tour and the Historic Preservation Commission efforts. Please support our sponsors of this year's tour on your next visit, and visit cottonwoodhpt.com for more information.